können und man kann es ja. Zumindest manchmal nachts im Traum und gelegentlich auch mal tags. Noch lange vor jeder Aeronautik hat der Mensch Mittel und Wege ersonnen, aus dem Hier und Jetzt rasch ins Anderswo zu kommen. Durch Manipulation an Geist und Körper, aber auch durch gezielte Träumerei.
As Micah said, I come from a family of doctors and scientists, and it very naturally informed my writing, so naturally that when I was described as a poet who writes about science, I didn't understand what that meant. But this, I very simply write, I can't see very well, and I'm quite hard at being here. And this is a poem about trying to see. Night photograph, and in particular about trying to fix what you see, which is the great mistake we make. Crossing the channel at midnight in winter, coastline develops as distance grows, then simplifies to shadow, underexposed. Points of light, quayside, harbour wall, the edge of the city, sink as the surface of the night fills in. Beyond the boat, the only interruption is the choppy grey-white we leave behind us, gone almost before it is gone from sight. What cannot be pictured is the depth with which the water moves against itself. In such abstraction, the eye can find no break, direction, or point of focus. Clearer and more possible than this is the circular horizon. Sea and sky meet in suspension, gradual, familiar textures of black, eel skin, marble, smoke, oil, made separate and apparent by the light that pours from the sun onto the moon, the constant white on which these unfixable layers of darkness thicken and fade. We're close to land, filtering through shipping lanes and marker buoys towards port and its addition of colour. There is a slight realignment of the planets. Day breaks at no particular moment. I discovered that there was an interrelation between science and what I was doing, and that it's all as it was before, that up until the 18th century it was all called natural philosophy, science and the arts. It was the inquiry into the world and human experience. And so I returned myself to that, really. I don't think it's easy, because I think I could not say I write accurately about science, because I would have to use higher mathematics to do that. I think that poetry provides an imagery, it provides analogy, and scientists really depend upon analogy, particularly now when what goes on in science is so abstract and technology is within a little black box. You can't see what's happening, so you need something to compare it to. I mean, when in the 17th century, when microscopes were invented, Robert Hooke, English microscopist, that's a good word, he looked at seeds of the herb thyme, tiny seeds under a microscope. So the first person to see this, and the only way he could describe what he saw was by comparing it to something else. So he said they looked like a dish of lemons placed in a little room. Or Anton Leeuwenhoek, the Dutch scientist who looked at corpuscles of blood. The first person to look at the corpuscles of blood, he said they looked like grains of sand laid on taffeta. And I think that kind of moment of seeing something, making sense of it, but also having to correct your sense of it, is the place where I want to locate everything I do, to keep it like that developing photograph of the first poem I read, kind of developing rather than fixed.